Good early afternoon. We are live. I'm Andy Andrews. You've joined us on the Blue Plate Special. We're glad to have you here. It has been a while. I've been out of town and crazy on Tuesdays and Thursdays and out of the country, and so good to see you guys all again. Shanda Danner, good afternoon. Linda Berg, greetings from Illinois. Hello from Southwest Virginia, Ruth Cordell. And Amy Paget, the Paget crew is back. There's Eliana Paget. Okay, I'm going to try to remember that, Eliana. So it's Happy Thanksgiving. Kinda. Almost. Yeah. Yeah, we got a bunch of people in the studio audience today. Everybody's like fasting, getting ready for Thursday. No, probably not. Marcy Carlson Taylor, good morning. And hey, from the 92, Martin Simmons, the 92 chapter of the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. And somebody like me would know what the 92 chapter is named after. There's several thousand chapters of the Andy Griffith Rerun Watchers Club. And the 92 chapter refers to the conversation between Andy and Floyd the barber, sitting on the bench out front. Andy says, "It's hot. It's hot." And Floyd says, 92 degrees. Everybody talks about the weather. Nobody does anything about it. You know who said that? Andy goes, "No, Floyd, who said it?" Said, "Calvin Coolidge." "No, Floyd, I don't think." And so this whole conversation about 92. Shanda Danner, out of the country. Well, oh, wait, I see Terry Rowland on here. I have to say Boomer Sooner to you. But I will tell you a story about Boomer Sooner. I was in Mexico. Shanda, which I just got to say, I haven't been to Mexico in a long time. And I got talked into going by some good friends that assured me that where they were going was safe. I hadn't been in years because when they put the mayor's head on the steps at the Princess Hotel in Acapulco, that kind of did it for me. I thought, yeah, I'm fine with Mexico. They can just keep it. And, you can go to Arizona and kind of pretend you're in Mexico and not leave the United States. But we went to Mexico on a golf trip. Don't laugh. I know you're laughing. Those of you who know me well, because I went with several buddies, and I told them, I said, I have not swung a golf club in 8 years. I fell off the stage, got the scar on the back of the neck, the 9-hour surgery, the whole thing. I haven't swung a golf club in 8 years, and I wasn't any good 8 years ago. So, they played 4 days. I was able to do 2 days. I did the first day and the third day, but it just hurt. And so the first day I played horribly. I was horrible the first day. And then the next day I played, I was bad. Not quite horrible, but bad. But here's the Boomer Center story I have for you, Terry. Saturday night, when the Oklahoma-Alabama game was playing, that was the third full day we had been there. And Willie Robertson was on this trip. Willie, Duck Dynasty, Willie. And so Willie, for some reason, was carrying around this Yeti mug. And I got to say, I've seen a lot of Yeti mugs, and they're too expensive for me. I'm not going to buy one, but this was a pretty Yeti mug. I mean, it was dark green, had a silver eagle embossed on it. If I really loved Yeti mugs, I would have loved that one, okay? But Willie was inseparable with this Yeti mug. I mean, he carried it on the golf course, he carried it in the car, he carried it walking around, he carried it on the boat, he carried it everywhere. And so then the third night, Terry, it was the Oklahoma-Alabama game, which, as you know, did not go well for Alabama. Now, all the guys on the trip, they were different loyalties. There was a couple of Tennessees on the trip, another Alabama like me, an LSU like Willie, an Ole Miss. There was an Arkansas, even a UCLA guy. And so as the game gets going, every time Alabama did something stupid, which was often, and every time Oklahoma did something great, which was often, Willie would lean my way and go, Boomer Sooner, Boomer Sooner, Boomer Sooner, Boomer Sooner, Boomer Sooner. And I'm just looking at the TV going, okay. Now, he's an LSU fan. He don't care about Oklahoma. He just don't like Alabama. All right, so, Boomer Sooner. And it's over and over again for 3 hours. Well, before everybody went to bed, I noticed Willie had left his Yeti mug on a counter in the living room. So I took it. I took it back to my room. I washed it out, dried it out, and went and hid it in my golf bag because the next day was going to be the third day, the second day I played. So I hid it in my golf bag. Well, next morning, we're up roaming around, and I can see Willie is a little discombobulated. He's walking around, and I even got a video, a 27-second video of Willie walking over here, looking here, looking over here, looking over here, walking over here. And by this time, everybody's kind of waiting on Willie. It's like, it's 8 a.m., it's time to leave. And it's 8:05, and Willie, and so Willie, at about a little before 8, Willie finally brings up to everybody, he says, hey, does anybody know where my Yeti is? And I don't know where it is. And he said, did I have it last night? I think I had it. Didn't I have it on the boat? And so he's ramping up. No, nobody's seen it. Nobody's seen it. Of course, I hadn't seen it. And so Willie's starting to panic a little bit. It's kind of getting to him, and the time is coming for us to leave, and then gets past time for us to leave. And so finally somebody says, hey, we got to go. Well, he goes, all right, I'll just buy another one there. So when we get there, we go to the driving range, and Willie can't shut up about the cup. He's still, did I have it at the restaurant last night? Did anybody see, maybe I left it at the restaurant. He asked one of the guys, what's the name of that restaurant? And tells him, he says, how do I call that restaurant in Mexico? And so somebody tells him, so he calls it. So now he's walking way around the putting green. We're still on the driving range. And he gets out of sight, and I said, hey, guys. Everybody, I said, come here. So everybody leaned in, and I said, I got Willie's cup. Everybody said, ah! Everybody just dies laughing, And so they say, you got it here? I said, yeah, I got it in my golf bag. So after 4 holes, there's this station you come to that you can get hamburgers or Cokes or something. And so Willie goes in the restroom. He and I are in the same golf cart. So he goes into the restroom, and I get the mug, and I put it in the ice. I get ice and get a Coke and pour it all in there, and I put it in my side of the golf cart. Willie's driving. And so he comes out, I'm already sitting there, and he hops in, he kicks the brake off, and then hits the gas and goes forward about 10 feet. He's looking that way, and he goes, and he stops. He looks closer, then reaches out, turns it. He looks up at me, and I'm smiling at him. And he said, "You had my Yeti?" And I said, "Boomer sooner, boomer sooner, boomer sooner, boomer sooner." So he said, "You're going to give it back, aren't you?" Well, he had already spent $120 on a plastic Yeti version from the golf course. And I said, "Yeah, I'll give it back for that one." So I have a fake Yeti that cost $120 for somebody else. That's my story. That's my out of the country story. Hey, one thing I need to hit before we go on here. I owe some people an apology. A couple of weeks ago, we did a show, and we did 10 things that people believe and how many people believe them. And we did stuff like the moon landing was faked, and we showed how many people believed that, and the earth is flat, and what percentage of people believe that. Well, in that line of 10 was vaccines cause autism, and talked about how many people believe that, what percentage believe that. Well, it was just part of a bunch of things about what people believe, and I didn't get any nasty comments or anything from that show. But then somebody on our staff isolated that one little bit and put it on Facebook, and it was you just come on and you see me talking about vaccines and how many people believe this, and people were upset. And when I saw it, my first thought was, that isn't what I meant. That isn't what. But then I realized, isolated, looking like that, I could see why they were upset. Some of them had kids that had taken a shot, and they were sure that. And so I did not mean to cause a ruckus, and I didn't even say that I believed or that I didn't believe that, but I do see how it upset some people, and we took it off. We took it off not because of the 70 comments. We took it off just because I realized it's offensive. So I apologize, and I just ask you, please forgive me for that. And I will attempt to be much more cognizant of that kind of thing and how that can be broken off and put in there. But I am sorry for that, you guys. Let's see. Next on the list is this. This is my new go-to devotion. It's called This Isn't the Life I Prayed For. It's a study of the book of Job. And it is written by our own Tammy Nance, the communications director for our businesses, Wisdom Harbor. Tammy Nance wrote this. And this book, it's easy to do. It's beautiful. I've already read it, and it's incredible. Polly is getting into it now. TammyNance.com. TammyNance.com. And she is up in South Carolina with the rainy day. And we put that in the chat room for you watching at home. But this isn't the life I prayed for. And, when you got a book about Job, you think, boy, that's going to be kind of depressing. But I laughed out loud at her first line in the book. A book about Job, and I laughed out loud. It said, "Some books of the Bible feel like a deep breath of fresh air. Job is not one of them." So anyway, there you go. Shelley Fitzhugh, howdy from Fairhope. Wanda Parsons, hey from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Karen Gifford Helms. Your son is in the studio. Where's your son? There, I see your son. I see your son. He looks just like you. Dina Kirkpatrick, hey, you shared even though you're late. I appreciate that. Okay, let's get to Thanksgiving. Rebecca De Leon from Louisiana. You're probably an LSU fan, so Boomer Center to you too. Okay, the greatest. We got several lists. Then I got a story, a traditional story to read to you. But these are some Thanksgiving facts. Now, I would say this is my opinion because it is my opinion, but it is also a fact that is listed. You can go on the internet and you can do the best Thanksgiving episodes on television shows of all time. And there's a bunch of lists. But they all come down to a number one. They all agree on the same number one. Do you know what it is? Anybody know? WKRP in Cincinnati. It was the turkey drop episode where they dropped the turkeys from the helicopter and they fell into the crowd, and it ends with the greatest line, one of the greatest lines in sitcom history, where you got Herb Tarlick, the marketing director, and the big guy, the station owner. He's kind of a dunce, and they're all messed up. Their clothes are torn. There's a couple of feathers hanging off of them. And they say, "As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly." But you need to go on YouTube before Thanksgiving. The whole episode is on YouTube. WKRP in Cincinnati, turkey, or Thanksgiving, or whatever. But that is the greatest Thanksgiving episode ever, and everybody agrees on it. According to the National Turkey Federation, around 88% of Americans enjoy turkey as part of their holiday feast each year. That adds up to over 46 million turkeys. Now, I talked to Mark Foley yesterday. You know what they're having for Thanksgiving? Prime rib. And you know why?
Why?
Because that's what Maryland wanted.
Sounds like a good alternative.
I told him, I said, "How are you about that?" He said, "Maryland wants it." And Mark is maybe 10 years older than I am, and so he's in his 40s. So, but I when Mark said Maryland wants it, I said, I was thinking the other day, I was driving home from the airport, and it was nighttime, and I thought, I'll bet you anything, our Christmas decorations out in front of the house are on. Now, it's like a week before Thanksgiving. And I told Mark, I said, I think my marriage life would have been much better if I could have adopted the attitude that Mark has now, the attitude that I have now after being married 37 years. And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, 20 years ago, I would have put my foot down on the Christmas decorations for Thanksgiving. And Polly would have said, it's not that big deal. And I would have said, it is a big deal. We're not going to be celebrating Christmas before Thanksgiving. I would have put my foot down on it, just like I put my foot down on a bunch of other things. But now, I'm like, Maryland wants prime rib? Sounds good to me. The lights are on early? Fine. You want to open presents a week before Christmas? Perfect. Just because I'm into just avoiding the argument. If it don't matter to me, if it don't matter, and I go back to the greatest advice I got before I got married. Dick Rollins took me aside and he said, I know you're in love. He said, I know you're going to have a great life together, but if I could give you some advice from a guy who's been married, and at that time Dick had been married 30 years. He said, if I can give you some advice, here's the advice. I'm just going to use an example for the advice. If during the course of your marriage, Polly is setting the table one evening, and she takes a bowl out of the cabinet and goes and puts it on the table, then goes back and gets a spoon out of the drawer and puts it beside the bowl, then goes and gets a fork and puts it on the other side of the table, then goes back and gets a plate and puts it beside the bowl, and then goes back and gets a spoon, puts it over here, and then goes back and get another bowl, he said, if it does not make any difference to your life, it would behoove you not to say, you know, a better way of doing that would be, he said, just keep your mouth shut. Turns out that was great advice. I didn't always take it, but it was great advice. All right, the UPS man. I love prime rib. Yeah, but not for Thanksgiving. Wine, beer, and whiskey are the three most popular Thanksgiving drinks. Wine, beer, and whiskey. What happened to iced tea? Iced tea at our house. In November 1926, Vinnie Joyce from Netayuma, Mississippi, sent President Calvin Coolidge, 92, a live raccoon to serve for Thanksgiving dinner. But instead of putting it on the menu, Coolidge adopted the raccoon as a family pet and named it Rebecca. Couldn't have lived without that, could you? Okay, Americans usually eat more pie than turkey on Thanksgiving. It's a fun Thanksgiving fact. Americans eat an estimated 50 million pumpkin pies each Thanksgiving day. Just on Thanksgiving Day. Whew. If you ever wondered why the president pardons a turkey every Thanksgiving, you might be surprised to learn that the tradition started with a different holiday altogether. The presidential turkey pardon can be traced back to 1863, in the middle of the Civil War, when Abraham Lincoln granted clemency to a live turkey intended to be his family's Christmas dinner. So Lincoln pardoned the first turkey, and then that became a presidential tradition. You know, this year, President Trump has found that in the previous 4 years, President Biden pardoned his turkeys with the auto pen, and so they'll be executing those turkeys this year. Get this. This fact got me. Black Friday, busy day for shoppers, even busier day for plumbers. It turns out that enough people clog their sinks and garbage disposals on Thanksgiving to make Black Friday the busiest day of the year for plumbers. How about that? And they get to charge more because it's a holiday. The Sunday after Thanksgiving is usually one of the most expensive days to fly due to high demand. So booking your tickets home for the day after Black Friday or staying a day or two longer could save you a lot of money. I wonder too about this Black Friday thing. We decided to call our sale a Thanksgiving sale. Black sounds too dark. And then now, have you noticed on the commercials, now they're doing Black November, the Black Week before. And Come on, does anybody really think they're going to cut you off on Cyber Monday? No, we've had so many orders that we've needed to extend it for a couple of days. I don't believe that. Sometimes Thanksgiving trivia and Christmas trivia collide. As it turns out, a guy named James Lord Pierpont, who gives their kid the middle name Lord? What's his middle name to you? God? Jesus? No, let's just call him Lord. James Lord Pierpont wrote Jingle Bells to be performed by his father's Sunday school class on Thanksgiving. And if you'll sing that song to yourself, you'll see it don't mention Christmas at all. Not a single time. How about that for a Thanksgiving fact? All-time favorite Thanksgiving movie on all the lists is A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. And there's a little behind-the-scenes conundrum that is hilarious to me. The producer Lee Mendelson and the writer Charles Schulz disagreed about a scene in which Snoopy's pal Woodstock ate turkey because the producer didn't think a bird would eat another bird. But he was overruled by Charles Schulz, who wrote it that way, and the scene stayed in. I don't know what his logic was for a bird eating a bird, but I think that's pretty funny. I'll be watching for it this year. If your family holiday tradition includes green bean casserole, you are wrong. You're just wrong. And your Thanksgiving is probably cursed by evil something. Green bean casserole. Holy God, please. I mean, you know, you have the Campbell Soup Company to thank for this because the recipe was developed by a woman named Dorcas Riley. It would be created by a woman with a name like Dorcas. Hey, you Dorcas, what did you make, you Dorcas? She worked in Campbell's home ec department, and the recipe took off when the company began printing it on the labels of its cream of mushroom soup cans. Have you ever known a casserole that didn't have cream of mushroom soup? I mean, they all got it. They all have it. But green bean, Dr. Charlie Cooper says yes to green beans. Oh, yes, to green beans. Not to green bean casserole, though, Charlie. Good grief. Green bean casserole and English pea casserole, both of them are just disgusting. Just disgusting. Don't put that on your table. Monsieur Linda, we're celebrating Dad and Mom's 60th anniversary this Friday with chili and grilled cheese sandwiches. Gene and Sharon Davis. Yep, they used to be my next door neighbor in 1979. That was when I was still living in the trailer, and I wasn't on the beach yet. Okay, here's the last trivia question before the story. In 1927, after Felix the Cat floated down the streets of New York as the first ever Macy's Day Parade balloon, there was no protocol in place for deflating the balloons. So once the parade was over, all the balloons just let go. They just let them go. How'd you like to have not watched that on TV and there's a 70-foot Felix the Cat over the cornfield? The UPS guy says Woodstock must be a bird of prey. Well, that's a good line. So the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade balloons are huge, but there are now rules in place that prevent them from getting any larger. This is just the greatest Thanksgiving fact ever. I mean, I just think about this. In 1997, 1997 now. This wasn't that long ago. The balloons went haywire on a particularly windy day. And Barney the dinosaur, that balloon dove down to the street and it was sweeping people off their feet and knocking over carts that were roasting chestnuts on open fires. And police had to step in and deflate Barney to regain control. And you know how they deflated him? They stabbed him. A whole bunch of policemen out on the street in New York in front of the kids stabbing Barney the dinosaur. Oh my God, I wish I could find a video of that. Dina Kilpatrick says, sweet potato casserole is the only casserole on my table. You have a good table. Sweet potato casserole is not made with cream of mushroom soup. And it's better with pecans and brown sugar than it is with the little marshmallows. Dr. Charlie Cooper said, wonder if he can make crow casserole with cream of mushroom soup. Buddy, you can make any kind of casserole with cream of mushroom soup. Dr. Charlie Cooper is the first one to take me and my boys crow hunting. He kind of bugged us for about a year about it, and I thought he was trying to pull my leg. I thought he was trying to take me on a snipe hunt because he said he would say, it's just like duck hunting without the water. You decoy them, you shoot them, just like duck hunting without the water. And I was like, okay. But I'm not kidding you. We shot 87 crows one morning, and we had Jerry the crazy crow guy that would call them, and we had called them with a call, you know, a big a portable call, and they would come in like crazy and you shoot and then they're gone. And he told us, he said, that's because that is an alarm call and you're alarming them and they're all coming to a distress call. And he said, well, and we said, well, what are you doing, Jerry? And he said, Dr. Charlie Cooper, 87. We did. We killed 87. And Jerry said, like this. He said, that's, hey, I think there's some food over here. Hey, there's some people already eating it. I mean, he had a different look, but boy, he kept them coming in for 4 hours. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then he gave us some smoked crow that had been like soaked in Dale's sauce. And I'm going to tell you how awesome it was not. I mean, if you could have solidified Dale's sauce, Dale's steak sauce, if you could have solidified it into a hard jelly, that's what that tasted like. It was pretty bad. Bonnie Latino says sweet potato casserole with country liquor is the only way to go. And then somebody else says bourbon sweet potato casserole reigns at my Thanksgiving table. Well, see, that's where all the liquor's coming from. People are putting it in their food. Linda Fox says make green bean casserole from scratch. Include homemade cream of mushroom soup. Never can. Yeah, but you still got those green beans and those nasty little onions on the top. Oh, okay. Here we go. This is our traditional Thanksgiving story, a Thanksgiving state of mind. We've done this every year now for 147 years. 147 years we have done this. So here we go. Everyone around the dinner table smiled as Pat Ward put the last dish in front of them. I know it's not much. The whole family laughed out loud. That statement had been made by Pat every Thanksgiving of their lives. Actually, there was enough food to feed an infantry division, but she always worried that there would be some poor soul who didn't get at least 5 helpings of everything. This year, she had prepared the dressing a day earlier than usual to give her more time with the grandchildren, but she only used that time to expand the menu. Besides the turkey and dressing, Pat had baked a ham, 3 pumpkin pies, and a sweet potato casserole. She made fried corn, cranberry salad, squash, rolls, butter, beans, and 3 kinds of peas. There was a time when family members would jokingly mention a favorite dish during the days before Thanksgiving. This was only a game, a challenge to see if their suggestion would end up on the table. It always did. And they felt guilty about that last year when Pat cooked 6 different entrees and 11 desserts. So this year, they kept quiet. "Wade, please say grace," Pat directed as everyone bowed their heads. "Certainly, dear. Let us pray." And as they all closed their eyes, he began. "Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you on this day of Thanksgiving with gratefulness in our hearts." Wade paused. "This is ridiculous," he thought. "How can I even say that? I don't feel grateful at all. I shouldn't even finish this prayer." But he did. Pat's husband, Wade, is more commonly known around Sawyerton Springs as Pastor Ward. He has led the flock at Bowman's Pond United Methodist Church for well over 2 decades now, but lately it has all been seeming a bit much. It's not that he's old. He isn't. "I'm just tired," he told Pat this morning, "and frustrated. I've had it. It's not necessarily the church," he tried to explain, "or Rotary Club, or my city council duties, or the grandkids. It's just, well, it's just everything. I've had it." Pat understood. Lately, she had kind of had it too. There at the dinner table, Wade sliced the ham and looked at Pat's Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank was 74 years old and sort of a know-it-all. Uncle Frank also knew a million jokes, and as Wade finished the ham and started on the turkey, he told another one. "Another stupid joke," Wade thought. "So there's these cowboys," Uncle Frank was saying. "They rode into town whooping and shooting, and there's this dog right in the middle of the street. One of them cowboys shot him right in the foot. A couple of days later, the cowboys was in a saloon, and they was drinking and cussing and playing cards, and all of a sudden," Uncle Frank's eyes got big, "all of a sudden a shadow fell over the saloon. As the cowboys looked up, they saw the dog walking through the swinging door. He had on a gun belt and a hat pulled down low over his eyes. A cowboy said, 'What do you want?' And the dog says, 'I've come to get the man that shot my pa.'" Everyone screamed with laughter. "I've come to get the man that shot my pa," Uncle Frank said again, banging his hand on the table. "You get it, son?" he asked Wade. "You get it, don't you? I've come to get the man that shot my pa." Wade forced a smile. "I get it, Uncle Frank," he said. "Would you like some turkey?" Wade had driven all the way to Foley to pick up Uncle Frank earlier that afternoon. He had missed the first quarter of the Dallas-Detroit game because Uncle Frank insisted on leaving the house at 2 o'clock sharp. No reason, no way to talk him out of it. Before he even said hello, Uncle Frank had asked, "Son, if Patty Duke married Gomer Powell, what would her name be?" Wade shrugged. "Patty Duke Powell." "Get it? Duke Powell. Patty Duke Powell." On the way to the house, sandwiched between the jokes, Uncle Frank had asked Wade why he was driving a 12-year-old car. "It was a piece of junk when you bought it," he said. "It's what we can afford, Uncle Frank," Wade had answered, but inside he had been seething. As the family ate and talked, Wade thought about the car. Uncle Frank had been right. It was a piece of junk when he bought it. Billy Pat had told him as much when he sold it to him. "It will need repairs now and again," were Billy Pat's very words. "I'm 53 years old," Wade thought. "I should not be driving a 12-year-old car. Pat's 48 and she's never had a car of her own." For the 3rd year in a row, the church elders had voted down a $1,500 raise in their pastor's salary. Last Monday, Roger Luker had come to tell him in person. "We just felt that the money would be of better use to foreign missions," Roger said. "After all, there are a lot of poor people overseas. And besides, it's not like you have to make a house payment. The church owns the parsonage." Wade drifted back into the conversation on the giggles of another joke. So there's this fat lady stuck in the window of the church, and when the guy in the devil costume walked around to ask directions, she said, "Mr. Devil, don't hurt me. I've been going to this church for 40 years, but you know I've been on your side all along." As everyone howled, Wade thought, there's probably some truth in there somewhere. Through dessert, Wade wondered if his church members cared more about poor people they didn't know than they did about his family. That's right, Wade said to himself. You do own the parsonage. Where are we supposed to live when I retire? Or am I supposed to just preach till I'm 100 and keel over on the pulpit? Why can't I buy my wife new dresses or a diamond ring or a new car? And about the car we're driving now, one more year and the engine will die, then the floor will fall out, and I'll be driving around town like Fred Flintstone. After dinner, the family helped clean up while Wade tried to herd Uncle Frank into the car. If I can get him out of here, Wade said to Pat, then I'll have something to be thankful for. Uncle Frank's jokes were becoming a blur, and Wade easily tuned them out as he drove. The kids were on his mind. They were always after him to do something. Daddy, fix this. Daddy, can you and Mama keep the children? Daddy, we're a little short this month. The city council thing was bugging him too. He hadn't even wanted the position, but everyone begged him to take it. They said, you will be a moral voice for the community, Wade. Please help us. Now they were all mad because he had voted no to having liquor at the Christmas party. What did they expect? After Wade walked Uncle Frank to the door and listened to 4 more jokes, he got back in his car and drove. Had he gone straight home, this story might have ended here and in not too happy a fashion. But Wade didn't go home. It wasn't until 2 a.m. the next morning that he rolled into his driveway. Pat had been frantic, but she knew her husband too well to push him for answers. She was relieved he was safe and glad to see he was smiling. It was the first time she'd seen him really smile in days. Wade apologized for worrying her. He said he hadn't meant to be so distant or to snap at her as he had done lately. He kissed her, looked at her, and kissed her again. Then he went to bed. Pat might never have known what happened that night that caused such a change in Wade had she not found the letter. It was in a bottle floating near the bank in Bowman's Pond. Pat was raking leaves behind the church when she saw it. Reaching the bottle with the rake, she unscrewed the cap, fished out the letter, and read, Dear God, it doesn't feel like Thanksgiving. At least I don't feel very thankful. In fact, I am fairly ticked off. If you ask me about what, I'd say everything. I'm so preoccupied with the things that are going wrong in my life that I'm having a hard time seeing the bigger picture. Lord, I'm going to sit here by this pond until you remind me of 10 things I have to be thankful for. And please do it fast. Pat's going to kill me for being late. Number 1, I have Pat. She loves me even when I'm being a jerk to her relatives like I was today. 2, I have a home in which to live. Remind me occasionally of the people on the street. 3, my family has enough to eat. I know there are fathers who put their children to bed hungry. 4, I have people who care about me. There are many who don't. 5, I was born in America. With all our problems, this is still the greatest country in the world. 6, I can see and hear and walk and talk. These are things I rarely consider, but they are a priceless gift. 7, I have the opportunity to help people who are hurting. It is amazing how much good an encouraging word can do. 8, I have the seasons. They're a constant reminder of change. After the winter in my life, there is always springtime. 9, I have my children and grandchildren who depend on me. That is an honor, and I've learned to be dependable. 10, I have music, trees, a good bed, a pond in which to fish, my health, a car that does in fact run, clothes to wear, time with my family, and in Uncle Frank, I have an unlimited source of jokes for my sermons. Thank you, Lord, even for him. Wade. So that's Thanksgiving from Orange Beach, Alabama. where the weather's hot, the fish are fresh, and the Lady Mako softball team is still the best in the world. Happy Thanksgiving.